My name is Norbert Varga. I'm the producer and game designer on Aquanox Deep Descent. I'm from Digital Arrow. We are the developers of the new Aquanox game. And we have a prototype in the background that is actually the Aquanox game that is currently. It's a very early prototype though, so obviously it is going to be much improved. It's still in the early stages, so we are experimenting on how to do it the best way. There were a couple of games beforehand, Originalspiels Dynasty, or some know it as Schleifart, and Aquanox 1 and 2. This is not a sequel, so it's not Aquanox 3. This is a reboot or reimagination, if you want to call it like that. There are many reasons why we have decided to do a reboot. For example, we didn't want all the people to go back and play the old games. They are really old. Some people might enjoy playing them. Probably most of them wouldn't. I don't know, because of the technical limitations. For example, Originalspiels Dynasty only runs in DOS. The other reason is that the original author, Mr. Hoffman, unfortunately passed away in 2009 after heavy illness. And the whole story continuation isn't as simple as it might seem. And Aquanox, the story, had a very strong political background, so right as of now, a lot of those things wouldn't work, including some scientific things like which were sci-fi in Aquanox nowadays are just normal facts. It was the first game came out 15 years ago, and the last one came out in 2003 and 2, so that was quite a while ago. However, this doesn't mean that we do not stay close to the Aquanox franchise. We keep most of the factions, just slightly rework them. We keep a lot of the scientific believability of the game, so Aquanox stays scientifically correct. It's not an extreme sci-fi, it's not an alien planet, it's on planet Earth, it's in the deep sea or deep ocean. And it also stays true to its combat. So Aquanox is an underwater shooter, a vehicle simulation shooter, or a submarine shooter. Can call it many things. And because of this, I think it's very important that we focus heavily on the combat. So we have looked at a lot of how the combat feels, how the movement feels, obviously, because that's a big part of the combat, and how the environment feels, because we are underwater. We have the advantage of being underwater, unlike many similar shooters, which are usually in space. It can be easily compared to space shooters because you have multiple weapons, you have a ship, you can go into third person. And this is actually a fighter that I'm currently piloting. Can't really say piloting because I'm underwater. And another thing that we have is the underwater ambient and environment that is a big addition compared to these similar type games. But it was also our biggest challenge, because how do we do a game that is deep, actually 1,500 meters in the ocean right now, and still see something? Because when you go below 200 meters, it's pitch black. So what we have done is worked on a dynamic depth system, and I can show that here. This is our regular depth visuals, and we can dynamically change to whatever we want, a little bit darker, or just go back to the standard one, or go even darker. A good example here is if I go forward, in the front you start seeing some stuff, but you can't really make it out because you are in the dark environment. But if I would change back to the normal environment, you could clearly see those are naval mines, and that's danger. And that's a good example of the dynamic changes that we are implementing. Now I'm doing this with hotkeys because this is a prototype demonstration, but it's going to be happening automatically as you go deeper. And that brings us to the fact that the old Aquanox game didn't have too much vertical gameplay, despite the fact that we were in the ocean. And if you are in the ocean and you say, I'm diving, diving means going down. And if you can go down, you are missing a big part of the ocean. And that's right, what we have here is we have caves, we have different kinds of ravines and caves inside caves. So we have caveception. We have a lot of things on the bottom of the seafloor. I'm just gonna go closer and show some of the cool stuff. For example, this one, as you can see clearly, it's darker sand, brighter sand. Brighter sand means loose sand. If I go to it, it's a little neat feature. It's gonna blow up the sand, blow away. I can boo if I'm using the boost forward. It's blowing away the sand from below me, uncovering some neat loot. It's a small thing, but it's useful for people that want to simply explore the game world. And if we want to explore the game world, we have our caves, which are pretty neat. But let's just go in there. This is a prototype of our base, and inside of a base we have the bar. As you see, it's like a pretty menu. The interesting part is, this is a prototype obviously, we have multi-choice dialogue. I'm not gonna take that quest because she's depressed because they will die, but the quests are dynamic. Some quests that might be denied might have results in the world. We have trading depot, and this is where all the magic happens, and that's the modular ships. If I come here, I have a neat ship, okay, but I don't like that engine on my backside, and it's not giving me the speed that I want, so I'm just gonna grab engine, the second one, and that's a triple one. It changes visually, it changes my stats, changes a lot of stuff. Or, I don't my overall look. I want a lighter ship. That's a big bulky ship. So, I just simply equip a scout class trunk. It keeps all my pieces, so I have my old cockpit, my old weapons, the old engine. It just changes the basis. Comes with leather seats, as Martin would say. What it does, it is a scout class. So we will have scouts, fighters, heavy fighters, and industrial, which is mining and trading. And you can mix and match all the pieces. And with all this, there are hundreds of millions of combinations that the player will be able to kind of build. In the end, no same combination will be visible. And that's really shining in multiplayer because we're going to have a drop-in co-op, 4-player drop-in co-op that is in the story. So all the players are part of the story if they play together.
Wir haben gerade eine schnelle Aquanox-Einführung bekommen und Norbert nimmt sich jetzt auch noch kurz die Zeit, ein paar Fragen für uns zu beantworten. So, first of all, what engine is it running on? It looks actually pretty good with all the light effects and the stark contrasts.
So we have the Aquanox game currently running on Unreal Engine 3, but it's actually quite heavily modified when it comes to shaders and part about the dynamic lighting and all that we have going.
And you talked a lot about how you try to keep this submarine setting very realistic. How much did you have to tweak actual physics and the surroundings to make it more interesting or more playable?
Quite a lot. It was quite a challenging and quite an experimental period. And in fact, I went as far as I took diving courses, and went into the water 20 meters deep, and people put weights on me and would push me around. No, I really went as far because I wanted to sense how the physics and how the water density feels. And we experimented a lot of that. Took also a lot of research notes from many kinds of different scientific websites and books and so on. So it was an experimental process, and it still is. It's far, far, far from final. That's why it's a prototype.
What are the key features of an Aquanox game? With revamping the game, what are the things that you definitely have to keep?
So the key features of this Aquanox game obviously is the underwater combat, which is what Aquanox is. And generally, when we look at the different kind of possibilities in the underwater combat, one being tactical, one being more straightforward action-based. all of these were parts of different Aquanox games. We're looking at combining all of these into something awesome. This is why we have the multi-weapon system, weapons that are primary, secondary. We're really experimenting with that, and we're actually keen to hear what the community has to say about that in the future, as we are going to be going live with lots of different kind of development videos and development descriptions. And also very important part of the Aquanox is the exploration and the ambience with this little caves and all that kind of stuff.